series we're going to start today and the next 3 weeks is Transformers. How many have seen the movie Transformers? But have you seen the fourth one yet?
No.
It's in shooting right now. They are making a fourth one. It'll be out 2013.
Oh my God. Isn't it going to have like...
It's more of a prequel, yes. But that's beside the point.
I knew they were making it.
When we were discussing this title, I told them that I was a Transformers geek. Now, how many people don't know what the Transformers are? I was afraid of that because I have a little speech here that says what they are. So I won't go over that. I know he does. He's watched it many a time with me. The Transformers are aliens that transform into the shape of cars, automobiles, planes,
jet planes,
I mean, any mechanical, motorized vehicle.
That's the second generation Transformers.
I was going to say, it's the second generation. The first gen used to be the good guys were cars, the bad guys were planes. Somewhere in the 80s they got mixed up and now they're confused. But go ahead and show the next one down. In case you haven't seen the movie, I put some highlights for it.
Now they have Decepticons and...
Well, they've always had Decepticons and Autobots, yeah.
There it is. Yeah, I did the animation myself. No. I have no idea. That's a sermon for another day.
But you have to talk about the original Transformers.
We're actually going to get off the Transformers. The Transformers was just the subject title. But I was bound and determined to somehow squeeze the movie in. And next week I'll try to squeeze 2 in. The first phase of this, we're going to talk about transforming, is your heart. And then next week will be your mind. The following will be your life. And when we think heart transplant, I had to do research to find this out. But the first heart transplant was done in 1964 on a 68-year-old man named Boyd Rush. He was admitted to a medical center in USA because of a heart problem. This man needed a heart transplant immediately, but no human heart was available. You ever find that a problem? When you need a human heart, you just can't find one? So they used a chimpanzee. The chimpanzee's heart was named Bingham. The newly transplanted heart beats on its own, but it was too small to maintain its independence and circulation. Mr. Rush passed away after 90 minutes. I didn't say it was the first successful one. I said it was the first one. They tried again in 67, in 84, with no success, as far as with the baboon heart. I didn't go any further. I figured I was getting too depressed at this point. And that's not where I wanted to go with it. Many people with heart disease seek and have a new heart so that they can have a new lease on life and normal life for any person. This morning I want to tell you about things that have hereditary heart problems that we have that we were given at birth. I know you're all going, well, I've been to my heart doctor. He says I'm fine. You're taking the concept of the heart a little different. The word heart in the Bible is more of a spiritual kind of heart, not a physical blood muscle pumping heart. And I think before we can find a problem to transplant a heart, generally you have to be diagnosed with a problem. Verse 26 of Ezekiel says that for us, it says our heart is made of stone. Having a heart of stone, be it the physical or be it the spiritual, I don't think is good for us. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you want your heart to be pumping and moving. A heart of stone is kind of like this metal. It ain't giving, no matter what you do. So the Bible has diagnosed that we have a heart of stone. We can see it's a very serious problem. As far as God is concerned, our hearts are just lumps of rock. They're not there taking God's life and giving essence and pumping it all around our inner being. Now, if the physical heart was made of stone, I think we'd be stone dead. In God's eyes, with a rock of stone, our heart of stone, means we don't love Him, we don't believe in Him, we don't trust Him, we don't delight in Him. We don't even obey Him. As far as God is concerned, our inner beings are responsive as a rock. And a lot of us are in our walk that way with God right now. He's talking to us and telling us things, and we're, well, we'll get to it eventually. Yeah, I know I shouldn't be doing that, but it's okay. But what God wants to give you is a heart of flesh, a heart of His Spirit. So when you're going through a regular physical heart transplant, you have a diagnosis, which the Bible has given us that. So now we need a physician to do it. Last I checked, I'm pretty handy, but I don't know if I can change my own heart. My own oil maybe, but not my own heart. Well, that's where the doctor comes in. Open heart surgery is not something we can perform by ourselves. We need a doctor. We need a specialist, to be exact. It says in the verse that I will gather you, I will sprinkle you clean with water on you, I will cleanse you, I will give you a new heart, I will remove from you the heart of stone. I think we found a doctor. It says in verse 28, you will be my people, and I will be your God. And that relationship and I, if you are a Christian and you have that relationship with God, have taken away our heart of stone and given us a heart of flesh. We have contributed nothing except the heart of stone to the doctor, as performed the whole transplant himself. So we get rid of the heart of stone. I know a lot of you are looking at, well, I don't get it, heart of stone? Well, a lot of us come into the church and we follow the church doctrine just because we have to, more of a law than a want or a need. And we may be Christians, we may be good Christians, but without accepting that heart and taking that heart of stone and turning it to a heart of flesh of God, you really can't experience it, explain it really. Because, I mean, we can go do good things, but if we're not doing it with a good heart or a God-given heart, we're just doing it because, well, it's convenient for me or it's just something I have to do because I'm a Christian, but we don't want to do it. Is it really doing God's work and God's will? So I appeal to you today that if you haven't had a heart transplant, that you have one. Have you let God take over your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh? You only need one heart transplant. If the transplant has been done, it will not fail. It may not always seem like it's a success in the first life. The process of removing a heart of stone will not be easy. The obligation for us, if we are Christians, is not to follow the old heart of stone, but to follow the new heart of flesh that God has given us. The heart that delights in Him in prayer and in His Word and in His people. Follow the heart of all your heart. Now, if we take the heart of stone out and we put a heart of flesh in, and I'm sure at some point we've all done that. But did we give up the heart of stone is the question we really need to consider. Did we give up the sinful ways, the ways that the Lord doesn't want us to live, to make us better? If you have an addiction or a sin of sorts that just isn't the way the Lord would want it, did you really give up the heart of stone, or did you just kind of tuck it away? And that's for you to think about as you go through your week this week. Is to how to transform your heart from a heart of stone to a heart of flesh. And this really, it's not something that you really see on the outside. I can't look at somebody and go, oh, they've got a heart of flesh. Not that I would want to. Or they got a heart of stone. It's not my job or my place or anyone's place other than God's to make that judgment. I'm just up here to tell you that God wants to give you that heart. And I know I think I should put up altar rails and invite everyone up to the altar. But I don't think you need the altar to turn that heart of flesh, turn the heart of stone to a heart of flesh. That is between you and God. Another thing that came across my mind is this: people are going to take this as an instantaneous change, that it happens like that. I like to consider myself a good Christian, but I don't have the pure heart of flesh yet. It's still some stone in there. I haven't let go of things. It's a work in progress. But to acknowledge, I think, would be the first step, that there is a change that needs to be going on in your life, my life, and everyone's life. I think there's only one perfect Christian that ever walked this earth, and that was probably a few thousand years ago. No, he didn't walk in the door, guys. Saw you turn your heads real quick. My ADD kicked in. I'm like, really? He's coming in? Well, we have bigger problems than that if he's coming in. But the point is to work forward to change that heart. Understanding it's not going to be an instantaneous change. I think a lot of people begin to believe that once you become Christian, you're perfect for life, nothing ever bothers you. I think it couldn't be any more further from the truth. Life has been harder since I've been a Christian. I've been happier. But the trials that the world puts on us versus what God does for us is so much different. Because in society we've accepted so much as to be God's gospel when it's really not. And people stand up here, and I stand up here and I preach what people have told me or what I've learned. I encourage you to look into the Bible to find out for yourself what it says. To write down the scriptures and look at it. Because what it says to me may be different than what it says to you. And does that make it wrong or right? No. I think the only common ground we walk on is that Jesus walked the earth as a perfect Christian, lived and died for us, so that we can have the opportunity to have a heart of flesh instead of a heart of stone. That's all I got.